Hello and welcome to the 2020 learning lessons based on my fourth book, The Contract Professional's Playbook, and the corresponding e-learning program. This learning lesson provides you with a down and dirty guide to planning a negotiation with a stakeholder when you only have a few minutes. We'll be discussing a 3-page planning guide at the very end of today's free learning lesson, and you'll be given a link to download your copy. All right, so good morning, let this trust begin. All right, I get it. Raise your hand if you can handle one more thing on your plate right now. No, you can't, no one can, but as a contract professional, it is your obligation to prepare for the upcoming negotiations. Now, if it seems like you and everybody else just spends their time putting out one fire after another, it's true. Yet, you can carve out maybe 10 minutes to talk with a stakeholder, ask a couple of key questions, and get a jump on planning. Today, now, more than ever before, negotiations happen in pieces and on the fly. Now, you might be tempted to shoot off a quick email or leave a quick voicemail, but you've got to be prepared for what to say for that situation, for that email situation or that voicemail situation. Now, this disjointed approach to negotiating on the fly will not change. So add to your stress that the bigger the deal, the more likely you will have 4 or more stakeholders involved in making decisions, not including legal, of course. So let's talk about how to plan with stakeholders. The 2020 learning lessons are based on our book, which is available at Amazon, or the e-learning program, which is available at www.jeanetteneiden.simplero.com. If you'd like to learn more, please follow the links. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I am Jeanette Neiden, the author and or co-author of 4 books, including Getting to We, Negotiating Agreements for Highly Collaborative Relationships, the Vested Outsourcing Manual, Negotiation Rules, and now the Contract Professional's Playbook, the definitive guide to maximizing value by mastering performance and outcome-based contracts. My co-author, for those of you who don't know, is Lawrence Kane, a SIG Supernova Hall of Fame member and an IAOP certified outsourcing professional with many years of experience drafting, negotiating, and managing complex IT contracts for a Fortune 500 company. The best way to plan for an upcoming negotiation is to have a conversation with the stakeholder. Since most contract professionals support stakeholders in their company or their organization, getting on the same page with the stakeholder or stakeholders is essential because we've all been in negotiations where one of our stakeholders says something that undermines the company or organization's negotiation position. So I encourage you to use the following 5 tips and the tool presented at the end to help you prepare your stakeholder and yourself for any upcoming negotiation conversation. Tip number 1, how will this agreement further your company's or your organization's business goals? Just keep in mind that different stakeholders may have different goals. Your role as the contract professional will be to limit the goals to 1 or 2 overarching goals for the company, not just for that stakeholder. You will be more powerful at the bargaining table if you're able to keep the conversations aligned with your company's business goals. And by keeping an eye on your company's business goals, you will know more quickly how to communicate with your counterpart and with your stakeholders. 2, what's motivating your company? Now again, what's motivating your stakeholder may not be the same as what's motivating another stakeholder. So you have to understand how those motivations come together to motivate your company into getting this agreement. Don't allow one stakeholder's motivations to undermine the company's goals. In fact, I was in a negotiation where we did not understand a stakeholder's motivation for a certain budget amount for a particular service item in a $10 million deal. Because that motivation was more powerful than other stakeholders' motivations, my co-negotiator and I had to keep that negotiation motivation in mind with the other, quote unquote, less important motivations with the other stakeholders, because the primary motivation furthered the company's overarching goals. So we had to do some stakeholder management with other stakeholders who didn't understand the overarching goals, motivations for the agreement. So the goal is where you're reaching, and the motivation is what's driving you towards that goal. Now, what I'd like you to do is list the factors that motivate your organization, and then list the factors that might motivate the other organization, your counterpart's organization. Those lists of motivations can sometimes become common ground, and successful negotiators know how to leverage common ground into a financially lucrative deal. However, in the heat of the moment, in that email or in that telephone conversation or WebEx, when you're haggling, you can lose sight of those motivations. So it's best to have them written down and in the back of your mind all the time. Tip number 3, know the non-negotiables, because everybody has them. Another way of putting it is, what must you absolutely have in order to close the deal? If something's a deal breaker, know this early on, and when the issue is discussed, address it openly and with certainty. This will help you avoid spending time and energy talking about options that are not really an option. For example, I work with a utility. Cybersecurity is not an option. Either the suppliers who interface our systems have the appropriate cybersecurity certificates, or they don't. We can't negotiate that away. That means that some suppliers are no longer able to work with us as the utility, and other suppliers are. Because cybersecurity of our utility is so fundamentally important, we are not able to negotiate that away. The supplier will have some, as well as the buying organization, so know them up front. Tip number 4, this is the opposite. What issues can you give a little on? These issues become your trade-offs. So ask your stakeholders the questions about what can they give on, so that you can have a great list of trade-offs. For example, you may ask the customer, are there parts of a service or product that can be eliminated to reduce price? Maybe there are, maybe there aren't. Or if you're the supplier, you can ask yourself, your stakeholders, can you work on a shortened deadline without risking quality? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But identify these items that your organization is willing to trade off in exchange for something from the other organization. Whatever you do, don't give something of value without getting something of value back. For a great, simple trade-off matrix to help multiple stakeholders understand the company's entire range of what to give and what to get, grab a copy of the Contract Professional's Playbook. There's a whole chapter on making effective trade-offs. Tip number 5, who are you talking to at your counterpart? Is the person you are negotiating with at your counterpart's organization the decision maker? Sometimes it is. Buying companies will sometimes negotiate with the decision maker for the supplier. Who else has a vested interest in the result of this deal at the counterpart's organization? When negotiating with a non-decision maker from your counterpart's organization, or with one of many decision makers at your counterpart's organization, you'll need a slightly different tactic. Your tactic shifts to provide information for them to pass along to the decision makers, and to reassure them that the solution you are meeting will meet your counterpart's needs, and even the needs of the people you are not talking to at that very moment. All right, so those are our quick 5 tips. Let's now look at the negotiation planning tool. This planning sheet has 3 pages. The first sheet allows you to list the shared interests. These will become your common ground. These are your goals and your motivations that may be shared with your counterpart. The second sheet lays out the T's and C's that may be open to negotiation. On the far left, you'll find the column for the non-negotiable terms. If you, the contract professional, have those terms noted as non-negotiable, that means your organization cannot negotiate them, even if your counterpart has listed them as a negotiable term. So please do address that early on and very clearly. Finally, the third sheet is a one-page planner that you would use yourself, the contract professional, to keep you focused at the very start of any complex negotiation. Now, the issues may change over time, but this would help you launch the negotiations in a WebEx or in-person meeting in a very clear and decisive way. Here's the link. Are you interested in getting a copy of the tool for yourself? Follow the link to download your free copy. All right, I'll see you in April for a conversation on leveraging lessons learned when you're renegotiating with a current customer or a current incumbent supplier.